Hi there, welcome back. So for today's video, I wanted to show you guys a bit of my process on how I make grayscale illustrations. I've been making grayscale art for about 2 years now. I have a handful of illustrations already done, and I think it's a really fun process, which is why I wanted to show it to you guys. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So as you can see right now, I'm doing the base colors both on different layers. I don't do them on the same layer because that would be very confusing, since obviously in the later minutes you're gonna see me shade every single block of color. The reason why the outline is already done here is because I traced it from the reference picture, and it's because I don't really focus on the outline. I just focus on the shading and making the colors and the shading seem realistic. So the outline isn't really the focal point of this illustration. Now I'm going to I usually start with the hair right away. And since I don't really know how to color hair, efficiently, so I compensate with that for a lot of shading. And you're gonna see that in the skin as well. Trust me, this entire video is going to be me talking about shading. I'm going to start shading the hair with a darker color and then gradually going darker. Right now I'm adding smaller and thinner lines to make it seem realistic basically. Since I don't want it to look like a Lego hairpiece on his head, I need it to seem realistic and flowing in a way, if you know what I mean. So then again, I'm going to go with a darker shade to add a bit of depth for it, since it's pretty two-dimensional right now. And I'm just trying to figure out where to put the shadows and later on where to put the highlights. So now I'm trying to figure out the perfect highlight color, since I don't want it to be too dark and get mixed with the other shading, or too light to make it seem as if it's white or wet hair. So I picked this color, and then again I'm doing thin lines because usually in hair, or when you color hair, you do them in very thin lines to make it seem more realistic. Now for the main part of the illustration, which is the face. And as you can see right now, I'm trying to gradually shade the skin. That is basically the most common approach, is that you gradually make it darker and darker and darker. But as you'll see in a few minutes, I get way too excited and jump to the shading immediately. But for now, let's talk about the reference picture right here. If you don't know who that is Francisco Lachowski. He is a model. My Instagram feed is so filled with his reels that I actually can't escape him. So I'm trying to shade the colors, like I said, gradually, but then I get way too excited about the shading, and then I make the shading much darker, and then I go back to the lighter colors, and it's a whole mess. Like, I don't really know how I get anything done in terms of art, because it's just so messy. Like you can see right now, I put a darker color, and then I put a little bit lighter shade, and try to gradually do it like that, which is literally the opposite of what you're supposed to do. But anyways, I get it done, I guess. So as you can see here, again, I make the shading a bit darker, and I'm already so excited right now during this point. It's been 37 minutes so far. I took about a 2-minute break, I think, and then I went back because I was like, you know what, this is good. Like, the second I make the shading a bit darker, I immediately get way too excited over it, because in my opinion, I think the darker the shading is, the better the illustration will look like. Not in terms of depth or anything like that, but I don't know, it just makes it look better in my opinion. So now you see me jumping between the eyes and then the nose, and then a few minutes later I'm gonna go do the lips. I don't really have a specific step-by-step way of drawing art. So now I'm doing the nose, which is the hardest part for me. It's the nose and the lips, because first up, I don't really know how to shade them correctly, and second up, I don't know how to connect them with the face. That is one of the problems that I've noticed I've been having, especially with grayscale art, is that I don't really know how to connect these features with the rest of the face. So I'm really trying my best, and again, I'm making the shading much darker, and I'm already boy, you don't understand how excited I get when I make the shading darker. Every time I make it darker, I'm like, oh my god, this drawing is becoming so good. I don't understand what's going on and what's this infatuation with me and darker shades, but whatever. Now I'm gonna start with the lips since the face really needed that feature. It's been looking hella bland right now, so I'm gonna get to it. And like I said, I don't really know how to shade lips, so you can see me going back and forth between the reference picture and my drawing, because I'm trying to understand how shading lips works, like where the lights should be and where the darker shades should be, because it's not like hair or skin. It's very specific on how you can do it and how you can't do it. But this changes like every 5 minutes, so don't worry. It might look bad right now, but I promise it will look better. Now I'm focusing more on the eyes, because if you know anything about Francisco, it's that his charm is his eyes. So I knew going into this illustration that if I don't make the eyes right, then that's a big problem, because that takes away the realistic part of it, as well as, me not being good at drawing eyes. I've been really stressing about this part because drawing realistic eyes is not my strong suit. I usually make them a lot more, I don't want to say anime-like, but that is how most of them seem to be. So I really tried my best to make the eyes look really dramatic and dark, but still making it seem realistic and similar to the reference picture. I really want to make the eyes look good. So I'm just trying to, figure my way out through things and try to understand how I can make this look much prettier. And then I'm going back to the skin, adding a bit more shading, and I do use the blur brush a bit often here. Then again, I'm going back to the lips for like the third time right now. So yeah, you can tell I'm really trying my hardest to make this seem, one, like the reference picture, and two, very aesthetically pleasing and good to look at. Because again, this is a problem that I have. When I try to draw realistic things, it just doesn't work out my way, and as you can tell, I've already been drawing on the wrong layer, so that's really good, yeah. And it's at this point I've realized that I've shaded the hair, but I forgot about the eyebrows, so I'm going back to them. And in the second session I changed one of them anyway, so I don't really know how this matters right now. I'm starting on the ears now, because at this point I thought, okay, I'm done with the face, I don't really need to do anything else, so I might as well just start with the ears. But I do end up changing it a lot later on. For the ears, I don't know why they're so, like, muddy, if you know what I mean. I don't really know how that happened. So now I'm starting with the neck, and you will see me struggle with making it seem like the reference picture. I really hated how the neck looked, so in the second session I ended up erasing all of this and drawing it back again. And then I shaded the outfit pretty, quickly and simply. I really hope you understand that the only thing I'm focused about at this point in the session is the skin, or the face in general, and the hair. If those two look good, then I'm great, and I don't really care about anything else. Now I go back to the hair and make it a bit darker, as well as the face, because it felt like the hair was a lot more flat and lighter than the rest of the illustration. As you can see, it's been 1 hour and 38 minutes for the first session. This is what it looks like so far. And now for the second session, like I told you, I didn't like one of the eyebrows, so I just duplicated the left one and flipped it to the second one, and then used the smudge brush to fill in, the outline of the eyebrow. For this second session, I felt like I was being really lazy, because I just wanted this piece to be over. Like, I was already pretty happy with it, so again, I'm just making tiny details for the illustration, just trying to fix some stuff that annoyed me. And then now I want to start on the blood spatters, like the reference picture. I really wanted it to be red and not grayscale like the rest of the painting, because I thought it would be a very nice pop of color and will look more dramatic and more extreme, if that makes sense. So I picked one of the brushes that I had and tried to make it seem as realistic as I could. I honestly have no idea how to make blood seem realistic. I really tried my best to make it seem like realistic, but also not a copy-paste of the reference picture. I still wanted to have fun with it and try and do whatever I liked and what I felt like fit with my illustration, instead of what fit with the reference picture. So I'm just playing around, adding some details here and there, and then for some reason I just wanted to add a few veins under the eyes. If you can tell, I'm already pretty influenced by the Vampire Diaries, but I felt like this was way too extreme for this illustration, so obviously I erased it. And then I went ahead and added a bit more details for the blood. So now I'm just adding some things for the neck to make it seem as if the blood dripped down, if that makes sense. Again, I don't know how to explain it or draw it, but you know, what works, I guess. So it's at this point I've decided to erase the neck because I hated its shading so much, to the point that I was like, you know what, I may be lazy for this session, but I'm still going to do this one little thing, because it really bugged me out. So I added a new layer, and then added the base color for the neck only, and then put the alpha lock, and then boom. So again, I had one more try for the same shading as the reference picture. It was terrible, so I decided to do my own thing and just try to work out where the shadows would be. So I've noticed that it was very dark, like way darker than the face. So you will see me in a few seconds, like, yeah, you'll see me right now put a lighter shade. And here is, you know, just me comparing the reference picture with my illustration. I don't know why, but this was really fun because I could look around the picture and see the differences. And of course I have to add my signature. And yeah, that is basically the end of the illustration, and this is the finished piece. So feel free right now to pause it and look if you want to look at the details of it and whatnot. Thank you for watching, and stay hellish!